Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to play television's newest and funniest panel game, Joker's Wild. And now here's the man in charge of the game, your chairman, Barry Cryer.
Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Joker's Wild. This is a game where top comedians test their wits and their memories to see who of them, if any, remember all the jokes. Let's get right down and introduce the teams. On my immediate right, the captain of the first team, and it's Mr. Ted Ray. Joining him in his team, firstly, Mr. Les Dawson. And making up the third and last member of the team, Mr. Bobby Pattinson. Opposing them, ladies and gentlemen, the captain of the opposing team, Mr. Charlie Chester. And flanking him, I use the word advisedly, it's the one and only Mr. Ray Martin.
Rubbish! Hodge wallet.
You know yourself best. And on his right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jimmy Marshall. And on my left and right, to look after the teams, do the scoring and perform our duties as general factotums, Anne and Louisa. Let me tell you about this game very quickly. Both Anne and Louisa have packs of cards. On each card is a subject. Let me show you one now. This is what a subject card looks like. As you can see, that one says, I haven't looked at it myself, that one says transport. And we will pick alternately, going through the teams in rotation, a subject on a card. And immediately the comedian has to tell the joke upon that subject. If a member of the opposing team wishes to interrupt and finish the joke himself, he can light his light and raise his hand. There's been a buzzer shortage there. Mr. Ted Ray is doing that at the moment. Thank you, Ted. Thank you very much. Yes, but hurry back. And if you interrupt the joke successfully, you win 5 points for your team. I can then revert to the original joke teller who can tell his finish, and then we adjudicate and probably score points to them as well. Let's get right on with the game, ladies and gentlemen. And can I have a card from Anne for Ted Ray? A subject card. I picked the subject card out. It is tramps. Ted Ray, tramps.
Tramps. This is a bit of a ringer, isn't it, tramps? You sprung it, lads. Tramps. Yes. Tramps. Well, if there's anyone qualified to tell a story about tramps, it's my good friend Les Dawson. What a dirty trick. What a dirty trump. Trumps, do I tell trumps now?
Yes, you can.
If you want. Yes. I'm speaking to you from a spin dryer. Finished yet? Trumps. Got one. 3 old maids went for a tramp in the woods and the tramp died.
5 points. You're allowed to hand a story over to a member of your team. Mr. Ted Ray did. Mr. Les Dawson scores 5 points. We now move to the captain of the opposing team, Mr. Charlie Chester, and his first subject is women drivers.
Women drivers? Oh, God, that's... Well, of course, my wife was a woman driver, and she was so bad when she was a learner that I sent her out to practice, and I thought, well, it was dangerous to send her out during the day, so I said, I'll tell you what to do, get up Sunday morning early, about 6 o'clock, and go out then. So she did. She got up Sunday morning, 6 o'clock, went out, and even then she knocked 2 people flying, and you couldn't say it was their fault. They were indoors having breakfast at the time.
5 points for Charlie Chester. The team's now running level, 5 points each, and we go to Mr. Les Dawson for his turn proper, and the subject is traffic.
Traffic. Well, traffic's, there's no 2 ways about it, it's getting worse. I was in a traffic jam the other week, and it was so bad that the car in front of me had a sign on the back, just married, in the back of the seat was 2 kids.
You've got a good memory.
I've got an act.
They're running.
I've seen you in it.
We'll all be right in it if we don't proceed. Ladies and gentlemen, 5 points to Les Dawson. And the next contestant is Mr. Ray Martin, and his subject is 2 guys in a pub.
Well, 2 guys went into a pub, and just before they went into the pub, there was this Irishman.
Ring.
We have an interruption from Mr. Les Dawson.
No. There was
Yes,
this
we do.
There was,
I've just pressed my buzzer.
He's just pressed his
it
buzzer.
doesn't work.
And the light
So
The
before
light
they
went
went
on.
into this,
Go to your room, Ray,
Go to your
immediately.
I will not.
No.
Before they went in,
Les
they saw
Dawson
this
was interrupted.
Irishman at a bus stop, and he was eating, and
I can't go, he can't go. Carry on, Ray.
and he was eating a meat pie, and there was a woman.
Shut
with
up!
Stop, Ray.
Les Dawson.
Yes.
There were 2 fellas in the pub once said to the other, see the size of that woman's nose? So this fella got hold of him and he picked him up. He said, that's my wife you're talking about. He said, I know, doesn't it suit her?
5 points
And there was
for Mr.
this
Les Dawson
Irishman-
there. We revert, if you'll pardon the expression, we revert to Mr. Ray Martin, who will now continue his own joke.
Well, these 2 men that went in the pub, just before they went in the pub, there was a bus stop outside, and there was this Irishman standing outside eating a meat pie. There was a woman with a poodle in front of him. The poodle keeps jumping up and down up at the meat pie. The Irishman looks at the woman and says, "Hey, say, would you mind if I throw him a bit?" That's not a bad accent for Jewish crofters, son, is it? "Would you mind if I throw him a bit?" The woman said, "No, not at all." So he picks the poodle up and throws it 100 yards.
Five points for that joke and 5 points for stamina. Give Ray Martin 10. Give him 10, brings our team's level, 15. It is now the turn of Mr. Bobby Pattinson. And the subject is, thank you, Anne, the subject is free choice. This is our Joker card. If you get this, you can tell a joke on any subject you wish.
On any subject. On any subject.
Any subject
Oh, I wish
at
you'd
all.
give me a subject. Any subject.
Well, you're the subject.
Yes. Well, I tell one on me.
Don't mention the Queen, she's not a subject.
So I was driving along the road the other day, late at night, passing a lay-by. 3 minis in the lay-by with all the windows steamed up. The big policeman there, you see. And he went up the minute at the back and he threw open doors. A couple in the back seat. He says, "What are you doing?" He says, "We're dancing." He said, "Dancing?" He says, "Yes, we're doing a waltz." He says, "Well, waltz off." Went up the next minute, he threw him door. A couple in the back seat. He says, "What are you doing?" He says, "We're dancing." He says, "Dancing?" He says, "We're doing a quick step." He says, "Well, quick step off." Went up the minute at the front, threw him door. A couple in the back seat. He says, "Suppose you're doing the bossa nova." She says, "No, I'm doing the bossa favour."
Very good.
75 for that.
No.
Very good.
I think
Very good. Very
I'll
nice
completely
if you
unbu-
like that sort of thing.
Hard to say what you like.
I'm not going to sit here listening to filth.
you're going to speak it.
He usually does.
Everybody has a good word for Ray, but unfortunately I can't say it on the air. I'm going to give... I'm going to give Bobby 10 for that. Our completely unbiased audience swayed me there. 10 points, and the score is now Charlie Chester's team 15 and Ted Ray's team 25. We'll have to do something about that.
How come I got 10 for the last joke I told?
It wasn't worth
It wasn't as good as mine.
That's 15.
They're going to discuss it for a minute now. This happens frequently. Do you want to discuss that? Why Ray got
No,
10
but it
points?
just seems a bit
No,
unfair.
we know. We
not
know
as good
about
as
you,
mine,
Bobby.
was it?
All right, we've heard about you.
You don't like me, do you? It's my colour.
Yes, it's makeup.
You wear it in the street. Well,
Takes
And frighten the horses. Now then. Where are we? Bobby Patton just told a story. It's Mr. Jimmy Marshall's turn.
Oh,
Mr.
I'm
Charlie
playing, am
Chester's
I?
team. There you are, Jim. And the subject is free choice again.
Oh,
the
free
Joker
choice.
card. Any subject.
Tommy Cooper was on the bus. The guard came up, he says, "Fez, please," so give him his hat.
Oh, that's Tommy Cooper.
You mean there's more than one?
We'll give Jimmy 5 points for that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where... no, I think we've time for one more. Have we time for one more before we have to work to time on this? This is where we go back to the captain of our first team, Mr. Ted Ray, and we'll have one more subject for Ted Ray, please, Louisa. Thank you very much. The subject is the services.
The services, well, I'll never forget when I joined the army. I was in France when the first shot was fired. I was in Ensa when the second shot was fired. And I went to have my medical. I met the doctor, old Icy Fingers. And he said, you ought to be jolly lucky, he said, that you're going into this fine regiment. He said, we have a new medical now. I said, what's that? He said, well, we get a man in, if he's breathing, he's in. And if he's a good type, a university type, we have two doctors. One looks through one ear, the other one looks through the other. And if they see each other, we make him a lieutenant. That's the end of the joke. Good. 1 mark for that.
5.
We can't tear the cards up. 5 for that.
5.
Oh.
I mean,
1700 was a good year for gags, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You should know, darling.
You should know. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we stop the game for a minute, literally for a minute, because this is the spot in our show where one of our contestants has to stand in front of you for 1 minute on his own over there, right in front of our audience here in the studio, and see how many laughs he can get in 1 minute. And this is in the sense of a championship. We'll have somebody doing this every week. So I have name cards here. Louise has got them. I'm going to pick out a name. The contestant is Ted Ray.
Oh, yes. Yeah. You must have a great age.
I am now going to pick a subject upon which Mr. Ted Ray will speak for 1 minute. The subject is motor cars.
Motor cars. Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ted Ray on the subject. Mr. Ted Ray on the subject of motor cars, speaking to you for 1 minute, starting now.
You know, I should have danger money being so near the audience. Anyway, I think you all realise, ladies and gentlemen, we're all car drivers today, most of us anyway, and the most important nut on a motor car is the one behind the steering wheel. Now, I was talking to my wife the other day. Well, I'm no snob. And she ordered a car. And she had one side of the car painted blue, and the other side painted red. And I said, isn't this rather confusing, dear? She said, yes, especially when I have an accident, you should hear the witnesses. As a matter of fact, I was out with a girl the other night in a car, very sweet girl she was, my type, breathing, you know. And I thought that she was going to play ball, you know what I mean? You're all ladies and gentlemen of the world. And she kept on saying no, and I was very embarrassed when I found out that she caught her nose in the windscreen wiper. All of a sudden, we went down the side road and the car stopped. A friend of mine said, what happened? Tyre down? I said, I didn't have to. It brings me to the subject of the man going down the one-way street, round the one-way street, and all of a sudden the policeman stopped him and said, do you realise you're going down a one-way street? Didn't you see the arrows? He said, I never even saw the ruddy Indians.
Welcome back to part 2, in which Soames visits his wife Irene. And may I refer back and congratulate Mr. Ted Ray, because in his solo spot of 1 minute, he got a round dozen, 12 laughs in 1 minute, ladies and gentlemen. One every 5 seconds. Round of applause. And he goes on to meet Jesus College, Cambridge next week. This will be a regular feature. Every week one of our comedians will be standing up for 1 minute, and the winner of the championship at the end of the series will in fact win a tattoo voucher. We now go back to the game. The last gentleman to take part in the game proper was the aforesaid Mr. Ted Ray, so we move to Mr. Charlie Chester's team and their captain, Charlie Chester. And the subject is... No, it's... I always do that just to see if you're watching. The subject is holidays.
Holidays? Yes. Well, of course, I don't go away, not on £50 allowance, I don't go abroad anymore. I went to a little place last year on my holidays, a little place called Ramsgate. And there I was sitting, lying on the beach, and listening to the lapping of the waves, the cry of the seagulls, and the maniacal laughter of the Pakistanis wading ashore. And suddenly, I'm finished. Not yet. That's one laugh. Suddenly this dirty little rowing boat came ashore with 30 Pakistanis on it. The police pounced and said, illegal entry. They said, good God, no, we just got back from the Titanic.
5 points to
Oh, I
Mr.
think
Charlie
he's
Chester.
marvellous.
Well,
He really is
Only
marvellous.
5 points.
No, listen, you're
More than
marvellous.
5 points
You're
to
better
Mr.
than
Chester.
them.
What does the audience
Marvellous.
think? More than 5.
I think you
This
should
is a
thank the
democracy.
Pakistanis in the audience for that.
This is a democracy. 10 points to Mr. Chester. And we move to Mr. Les Dawson, and his subject is...
Les Dawson. His favourite subject.
Marriage.
Marriage.
Favourite subject, then?
Well, marriage to me is a very sacred thing. I've been married 7 years now, and it's just like yesterday. Not a terrible days today were. But people forget that marriage is basically a compromise. Like the time the wife wanted a coat, and I wanted a new car. We couldn't afford both, so we compromised. She got the coat, but we keep it in the garage.
10 maximum again, I think, to Les Dawson. And we go to Mr. Ray Martin, and his subject is, from the top of the pack this time, old maids.
Old maids. Well, there was this old maid, you see, and I said to her, I said, what do they call a coloured window cleaner? And she said, Shammy Davis Jr.
5.
I've got another one.
Well,
and then I went
write
up
the
to the
B&A
other old
about it.
maid and I said, what is covered with Baco foil and polythene and rings the church bells? And she said, the lunch pack of Notre Dame.
I can't do line. I've got to settle for 5. Sorry, Ray. And we go to Bobby Pattinson.
They were
and
very
his-
good.
They were very
They
good.
always were.
We've got.
Ahead of their time.
Look at that.
Landladies. Bobby Pattinson. Landladies.
Landladies.
And I'm holding the wrong way up.
Landladies. Oh, this is a subject that we know quite a bit about in this business, isn't it? Landladies. Only can't think of anything at the moment. When I was in Bridlington, you know Bridlington, it's a resort, the last. I went up to this house, knocked on the door, and the landlady opened the door in a nightdress. I thought,
Ray Martin interrupts with that truncheon of his. Carry
And she
on.
came to the door and she said, what do you want? And you said, backing away fearfully from her, do you think the woman next door would give me a glass of water?
I like that. 5 points for that interruption.
no,
Yes.
no, that's not the one, though.
It is not the one, and we
No.
go back to you, Bobby, to finish your own story, but we give Ray 5 points for that interruption.
Yes,
back
it
to
was
Bobby.
good. It was good. It was good. That. She opened the door in a nightdress, and I thought, that's a funny place to have a door. That's not the joke. No, that's
Five
not
to
the
Bob.
joke either. She had a great sense of humour, you see.
Yes.
I went upstairs and I came down and I said, there's no ceiling to my room. She says, that's all right. The man upstairs doesn't walk around much.
Yes.
5 to Bob. 5 to Bob. And quickly, finish out the round. Jimmy Marshall, your subject is, from the top of the pack, BR British Rail. Jimmy
Again?
Well, it's the same train, it's a bit late.
Typical British Railway. Well,
Would you
I
like to
would...
pass it over to us?
Pardon? No, I went... No, 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 no.
Would you like to pass it on to another member of the team?
It's the Passover.
No, 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 no.
It's a Jewish train.
Can I get away? Do you mind?
Services have been cut.
I got a train to the doctor's the other day.
Ah, that's it. Oh, Auntie, get out.
I got a train to the doctor's, and a man came to the doctor's with a packet of biscuits. He says, Doctor, can I do something with these? They're crackers.
Oh, no. Unfair.
5.
Unfair.
5. We stop the game there, ladies and gentlemen, for another of our features, which is another quickie spot of ours. And in this case, I'm going to give the teams one key word, and they have to introduce this word into song titles. And we start at the top of the table with Ted Ray. Ted, the word in this instance is wooden leg.
Wouldn't I? If she has a wooden leg, that's Peggy O'Neill.
Yes! We move to 10 points for Ted Ray. We move to Charlie Chester.
Does your wooden leg lose its flavour on the bedpost?
10 again. 10 to Charlie, please. 10 to Charlie. We go to Les Dawson.
I wouldn't leave my little wooden leg for you.
Straight 10s. Straight 10s. These are excellent straight 10s. Ray Martin.
Oh, I wouldn't leg my little wooden leave for you. I was going to do that one.
No, it's not mine.
Yes.
No points for Ray. Settle it afterwards. No points for Ray. Sorry. Bobby Pattinson.
Once I had a secret wooden leg. No.
No points for Bobby. Jimmy Marshall.
Wooden leg of my tart, I love you.
Minus 5 points.
What? Wooden
I
leg
think
of my
he's
tart?
got them there.
Shall I knock him 5 off for that?
Oh, knock me 10 off, I'm not bothered.
No, only 5. I'll only knock you 5 off, feeling generous. We go back to the game, ladies and gentlemen, back to the top of the table.
He just doesn't like me, you know.
2 choruses at my old crutch.
He hasn't got a leg to
You
stand.
can't see the join. We go back We go back.
They're digging deep tonight.
Oh dear, I'll bang the gavel on myself. We go back to the top of the table. Ted Ray, your subject. Back to the game proper. Your subject. Transport.
Transport. Oh, yes, lovely transport gag.
Heart transport.
Take 5 points off, Ray Martin.
Facetious interruption.
Here,
Yes.
5 points off.
This fellow was driving this tremendous, and I've got great admiration for these transport drivers, driving this great, big, enormous lorry down the M1, and a police car stopped him, and the policeman came up and said, I had to stop you. He said, where is your rear light? And the fellow got out, and he went to the back, and he said, to hell with my rear light, where's my trailer?
I'm going to tone myself down a bit. That's 5 for Ted. 5. Very well earned 5. And it's Charlie Chester. And Charlie, your subject is free choice, the Joker. Any subject, Charlie.
A fella got a job on the Green Line buses in London, and the foreman didn't like him, and he thought, I've got to give him the sack, so I'm going to send him out on I know what I'll do, I'll send him on a different route every time he goes out. He's bound to go down a wrong turning, and as soon as he does that, that's his finish. So he did this. He sent this poor new Green Line bus driver on a new route every time, and the lads in the yard were saying, have you seen Harry, the new driver? Got religious mania. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, he's talking about saying the Lord's Prayer, and he's got it all wrong. He's saying, Our Farnham, which art in Hendon, Harrow Road be thy name. Wait a minute. Thy Kingston come, thy Wimbledon in here, as it is in Epsom. Give us this day our Maidenhead, and forgive us our Westminsters, as we forgive them that Westminster against us. Lead us not into Thames Ditton, but deliver us from Ewell. But thine is the Kingston, the Purley, and the Crawley for Ivor and Ivor Crouch End.
I got it. 10 points for that excerpt from Charlie's act, and we go. We go to Les Dawson. And Les, your subject is doctors.
Doctors. There was an old man in bed, very seriously ill, and there was 4 specialists gathered round his bed, and they all examined him, and they went in the corner in a huddle, and they came back, and the old man says, tell me the worst. And they all said, well, we've agreed on a verdict, it's 20 guineas each.
5. 5 for Les Dawson, please. And it's Ray Martin, Charlie Chester team, Ray Martin, and Ray's subject is Vickers.
Ah, Vickers.
Knickers?
Vickers.
Well, there was a vicar, he stood up in the pulpit, and he said to his congregation, all that glitters is not gold.
Ray.
Sorry, Ray.
Persist,
Take
Ray.
your hands off me, I need my rest. Vicar stands up in the pulpit, he said, all that glitters is not gold. He said, I will point to any one of my congregation, and I will make them stand up and tell me their names, their occupations, and their salaries, and you will see how happy and contented they are. So he turns to one fella, sat right over there, with a flat cap on, and he says, stand up, and he says, what's your name? The fella says, my name is Bill Jones. He said, what do you do for a living? He said, I'm a plumber's mate. He said, how much do you earn a week? He said, £12.10 a week, and the congregation go, Amen. And there's another fellow over there, he says, stand up. He says, what's your name? He said, my name is William Smith. I just made that name up. It's brilliant, mate. He said, what do you do for a living? He says, I'm a long-distance lorry driver. He says, how much do you earn a week? He said, £17.10. The congregation sing, Amen. There's another fellow over there with long sideburns. He says, stand up. He said, what's your name? Fellow stands up. He says, my name's Engelbert Humperdinck. He said, what do you do for a living? He said, I'm a pop singer. He said, how much do you earn a week? He said, £5,000 a week. And the entire congregation stand up and sing, there's no business like no, business like no, business.
10 points for the kosher chorister, and we move back.
The Red Sea never parted for anybody else.
I haven't been there yet.
Ray Martin has just scored 10 points, and we move to Bobby Pattinson, and Bobby's subject is, thank you, Anne, Bobby's subject is free choice, the Joker, any subject, Bob.
Free choice again.
Free choice again.
Little boy in school, in the posh part of the area, Hunslet, and that's where they go for the fish and chips and the fiddle case, isn't it? And little boy in school, and the teacher said, Tommy, he said, if you have 10 sweeties and I take 5 from you, what will I have? He said, a broken arm.
5, Bob.
He was a smarty.
Have to introduce a beautiful song. Now, Jimmy Marshall on Charlie Chester's
British
team.
Rail, I'll bet.
Your subject...
I hope it is.
It's the only thing that can tell you.
Jimmy Marshall, your subject Holidays.
I wish he was British, Ray.
Can be.
It's the same thing.
Holidays via British Rail.
Holidays. I went to Blackpool last year, and I went into these digs, and the landlady said, "Have you got a good memory for faces?" I said, "Yes." "Why?" She said, "There's no mirror in the bathroom."
10 points to Jimmy Marshall, please. 10 points to Jimmy Marshall. With the score, Charlie Chester's team 75, Ted Ray's team 80, only 5 points in it. We go to another quickie round, and this time the teams have to finish the second half of a line, I say the first half. Gentlemen, would you finish this line? I won't say she was fat, but Ted Ray.
I carried her over the threshold on our honeymoon and had to buy a truss.
5 for Ted Ray. Charlie Chester.
Careless rupture.
I wouldn't say she was...
I can't count that as an introduction properly, Jimmy. Charlie Chester.
I wouldn't say she was fat, but on the way home, one of her garters snapped and cut down 4 trees.
10. 10 for Charlie Chester. Les Dawson.
Oh, I wouldn't say she was fat, but if she had another 2 legs, she'd be a star in westerns.
5. Les Dawson. We go to Ray Martin.
I don't know anymore. I wouldn't say she was fat. But I wouldn't say she was fat and bow-legged, but they used to hang her over the door for good luck.
Very good.
5 points for Gall. 5 points for Gall. Bobby Pattinson.
I wouldn't say she was fat, but she was on the beach at Bridlington last year, and the attendant asked her to move so the tide could come in.
10 points for Bobby Pattinson. And it's Jimmy Marshall.
I wouldn't say she was fat. Was on the beach of Bridlington last year.
And they thought
She
it was
stood
you.
up, bent down to pick a hamburger. There was an eclipse in Fleetwood.
10 for Jimmy. 10 for Jimmy. Gentlemen, I'm informed we've time for one more round. Let's switch it to the opposite. Let's say, I won't say she was thin, but Ted Ray.
I wouldn't say she was thin, but she was walking down by the seaside one day, and one winkle said to another, "Back in your shell, mate, here comes a hairpin."
5 to 10. It's 5 to 10. And we move to Charlie Chester.
I wouldn't say she was thin, but she never bothered to thread a needle, just crawled through the hole and dragged the cotton after her.
5? Generous score. 5 to Charlie Chester. Les Dawson.
I wouldn't say she was thin, but when she stood side, when she pulls her tongue out, she looks like a zip.
10 to Les Dawson. Ray Martin.
I wouldn't say she was thin, but she was walking down the street and a gypsy came along and put her in a basket and sold her as a peg. I just made that up.
5 for charm. Bobby Pattinson.
I wouldn't say she was thin, but when she took a shower, she had to move around to get wet.
Like it. Applause warranting 10. 10 for there. And Jimmy Marshall.
I wouldn't say she was thin, but she didn't wear a bra. She wore boil plasters.
How many audience? How many? 20, the lady said. No, 10 maximum. We'll give you 10 for that. We'll give you 10 for that. Ladies and gentlemen, that's just about it for the game proper. I'm just looking at the scores. Ted Ray's team have 125, and Charlie Chester's team have 120. A close thing. Ted Ray's team therefore win, and it's time for me, very slowly and sincerely, because we have to fill out the time,
I wouldn't say she was thin, but...
to say good night from our victorious captain, Ted Ray, and his team, Les Dawson and Bobby Pattinson. Good night from them. And also good night from Captain Charlie Chester with Ray Martin and Jimmy Marshall.
Good night. It definitely was. It definitely was.
It's good night from me, Barry Cryer, good night from Anne, good night from Louisa, good night to you all. Thanks for looking in. See you. Bye-bye.
Oh,